So calling the Affordable Housing Committee meeting of February 10th to order. This is an additional meeting that was called because we had some agenda items that were time sensitive and were still left hanging last time that we met. So officially calling for public comment, but I don't see anybody on the meeting. So with your consent, I would move right into the agenda. And our first agenda item would be to consider Lisa Gork for a membership in the Affordable Housing Committee. We had the chance, or some of us had the chance to meet Lisa last time. I don't have her application in front of me, but she shared that she is has some relevant skills and interests. If anybody can add any specificity to that, that would help me out at this point.
You're muted, Chuck, if you're talking. Are you spelunking? What do you? I haven't actually heard from Lisa since our last meeting. I wasn't able to connect with her, and I was expecting that she would be here tonight to kind of formally talk to the committee about interest in membership. So I might suggest we table the discussion till later in case she shows up in a little bit. Chuck, I know that at the last meeting, it sounded like the two of you might try to connect to work on some things. I wonder if you guys were able to connect.
You're still muted, Chuck.
I think he's finding his way out of the basement slowly.
Looks like he's in his car.
Oh, is that where he is at?
Don't you know you're not supposed to text and drive, Chuck?
Still can't hear you, buddy. You're still muted. Oh, I wonder if I can unmute you.
He was giving us a 515 and he wants to go to sleep.
Is that what he was doing?
I'm not good at reading sign language.
All right.
Does look
Yeah,
like
why
he's
don't
driving.
Okay. So for now, I guess we can table it and see if either Chuck or Lisa can join a little later. The next agenda item is to consider the release of the housing brief, Homes Built in 2025. I think Chuck worked on that and SJ worked on that as well and forwarded it to us a while ago, and I had a chance to look at it. I think that the reason this was time sensitive is that we were thinking of releasing it ahead of town meeting day. Is that right? Or what was the timing that we had in mind?
I think I think that this was well, I don't want to speak for Chuck. My understanding was that he wanted to get to be able to kind of present the homes built, the certificates of occupancy, as soon as possible, rather than waiting for an entire report to be put together. And so this was time sensitive. This was something that Chuck was pushing. While he's getting himself together, I can just share that the data that Chuck shared, I had pulled all of those certificates of occupancy and then paired them with the information that I could find from the original building permits. And then Chuck went in and did some sleuthing to see of those new builds, any that were sold recently, after they were built, what were they sold for? And I think in some of that sleuthing, when he sometimes found how much the land was sold for. Um, and I think no surprise to anybody that a majority of the things that were built were, somewhere between 700,000 and over $1 million. Um,
I was honestly, I was honestly still shocked. I thought like the going rate was like 500 to 700, but I guess I'm living a few years ago with that. I mean, I thought it was shocking and just goes to show you how far away we are from any kind of middle income housing right now. I mean, there were two ADUs, but
yeah, the average sale. No. The average sale price for this year, just of all homes sold in Jericho, was about 600,000. It was like 590 something. Um, but these homes are specifically new builds, and so yeah, it
mm,
suggests that what's being built
mm.
is big and luxury.
And also the point was made that no new housing was built in the village centers, if I remember correctly. I
Yeah,
don't know
that
about the village district.
there are
Um,
two single family homes built in the village district. Um, and let's see, three ADUs. Two of them were in rural ag. Another ADU was built in the new Riverside Village neighborhood district. And then um, the other single families were either in low density residential, majority of them were in low density residential, and three in forestry. So let's see, that's eight in low
mm,
density residential and three in forestry.
mhm, yeah. So, I mean, the average home price new build that I remember was something like 936,000. That was the average. So, yeah. Um, And again, I don't know about the ones that were sold that weren't new builds, but new builds are predominantly single family. There were no duplexes, no multiplexes. And so, so back to the question, so you worked on this, you put this together. Um, I do think it's important to get this out. And I agree personally now, I agree with Chuck that, we don't have to wait for the full housing report to put this out because it's like 2025 is now over. So, it's timely. And the next question, I guess, would be where to put it out and how to put it out, right? And just as far as the timeline is concerned, the town report came out like at the beginning of the year, is that right? Or when did the town report come out? Usually it comes out like around town meeting day, right? But this was earlier.
Correct. Well, you have to get your report in. You have to get so that they can get stuff to the printer. So um, you have to get materials into town hall in like November or December.
Mm,
So yeah, so the town report has that ship has sailed. I don't think that there's any question or concern about um, getting these numbers out. I think if we're putting together if something is being shared on behalf of the committee, be I just want to make sure that we're all kind of in agreement about the language used, and the message that's being shared with the raw numbers. Um,
hmm
But yeah, I don't see, there's no reason we have to sit on anything.
So as far as the language shared, and I'm just trying to see if I have it somewhere here that I can put it up on the screen. Which I do.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing the screen then so you can get in there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep, I think it might have already stopped too. Mm, why isn't it stopping? Where is it? There we go. I had a banner that was stopping me from seeing it. Shoot. Okay.
All right. Can you see the spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the spreadsheet. I have to minimize all of you here to see it myself. And so these are the new houses that were built, of which there were quite a few. I didn't count
Hello.
them up. 13 houses were built. Hi, Chuck.
I'm sorry. I went to the town hall and
Oh, okay.
I couldn't figure out
Sorry.
how to get the uh, Zoom audio going, as you can see. And
Yeah, so we're
I've heard everything but the last few minutes.
okay. Yeah, no, we're just we pulled up the housing assessment for 2025, and we're just going through it in anticipation of getting it out there in some way, shape,
Right.
or form to make sure that we're all okay with the language that's on here.
Yeah.
And
Could I add some color to a few things?
sure.
Okay. Um, so SJ is right. It is an amalgam of what she found and what I found. All of the costs were come one of three ways. Uh, One is uh, what the house sold for. So these are houses where somebody built them on spec and sold them. Then there are houses where somebody bought the lot and then they built the house. And so we have the price that they paid for the lot, and we have the number that they for construction that they put on their zoning permit. And
Okay.
so what it actually cost would be either more or less. And my guess is for most construction projects, there's more, and that people would lowball, whatever they give the town. So it's either what the house sold for, or a combination of the lot price and what people put on the zoning permit. And for one of them, the house is for sale now, and I put down what the asking price is. So, the numbers are, and I've tried to put notes on here for that, but the numbers aren't, and then there's one that I simply couldn't figure out because someone bought a lot and then subdivided it a number of times through the years and then finally built a house on the remaining lot. And there was no way to figure out what the person actually paid for the lot. So
Okay.
that's the one that's blank. The two that are in the village district, and you can see in the first one, the village district, the two on Black Walnut Lane. If you look at the houses, they're pretty similar, but one, uh, one put down 1.1 million on the zoning permit, and one put 600,000 down on the zoning permit. And I mean, those are real numbers. But then on uh, the low density residential, Corey's Lane, you know where Hendy Lane is, right? That's the one on Morgan Road. So that was 9 houses that all kind of look the same. They have their own septic, their own public water, and they all, they've kind of sold in the $700,000 to $750,000 range. then the next two, Corey's Lane and Carter's Way, are as you drive down Brown's Trace towards the truck center on the left-hand side, those new, pretty enormous houses on the left. This is one of those, is the Corey's Lane one. And then the same development goes back through to Orr Road, and there's one finished back there. But next year, the other houses from that development we'll see. Shore Road is one of 9 houses off of Plains Road. And there's 2 for Shore Road. The one on Shillhammer is 1.39 million, and that's for a single family home and an ADU. Of the 2 ADUs that I've listed as just ADUs, one is one that somebody put in a garage, and they also got a $50,000 grant from the state. And what I don't know is whether they put down $93,000 on the permit. What I don't know is whether the 50,000 was on top of that or part of the 93. But that was a structure that already existed, the garage. And then the freestanding one cost 175,000. And that one is just past the parking lot for mobs.
Question I have is the ones that don't have any notes, are those sales prices? Or
Yes.
okay.
I could make that change. I think that would be maybe on the notes on the right-hand side for each one, I should say where the number came from. Yeah, all those other ones are, I mean, the notes are down below, but they are kind of separate. I can add those on to the right.
So I definitely don't want to monopolize this, but I have one more comment, which is when we make this public, I suggest that we take the addresses out, because, while it is public information, people will feel that having the exact price of their house with their address on there, goes further for a town website maybe than I would think a lot of people would be comfortable with. So I suggest that we take the exact addresses out, just that column E. So opening up for other comments.
I think that's a good idea. What would you think of the idea of just putting the road down?
Yeah, anybody who really is interested can see all that on Zillow. They're reported right there.
Right. Yes, but we don't have to report it on the town website, where I think is one place where we might want to put this.
It's also available through the town clerk's website.
Right.
Yeah, but we don't need to do the work for people. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of with Frederica.
Yeah,
It's publicly available. If people want to go hunt it down, they can. But
what if we were to put just on the road?
I guess
Just
if
the
you've got
street name?
Pardon?
It does give some context in terms of like where these things are happening, but I guess we don't. I'd go either way on that.
I would.
Yeah, I mean,
I would take
putting in the
out.
street name might be helpful, but just remind you, I don't know if you all got the email from the local realtor that had every single house that sold in Jericho in 2025. The letter of that, I mean, it's right out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd feel more comfortable getting rid of the parcel ID and getting rid of the house number, just leaving the roads. Because the parcel ID is the
That's the same thing, yeah. Okay. I could go for that, leaving the road in and just taking the house number out. And again, it's public information. People can find it if they so desire.
And then I'll add where the number comes from for each of the ones on the far right.
Yeah, if we
Okay.
could be really clear about where those numbers come from, because yeah, the permitting is not
That's a
that
squishy number.
it doesn't really mean
But I
much.
don't think they'd
Except
lowball.
it might give you some indication of the size of the project, maybe, but it's not. Yeah.
All right. And then
Well,
the next question
the
is,
zoning permit, people are pretty far along. They're putting in at they're putting in the uh,
Your point about Black Walnut is a good example, though, of like these numbers can mean anything, and especially when you're looking at a PUD, like it's hard to know. I don't know. But just
so
being really transparent, really clear
yeah,
yeah,
about where it's coming from is all that matters.
yeah.
right. These are indirect numbers that it's an estimate in the end, but I think ballpark it's,
Well, they're all precise numbers,
yeah, but it's like it's
but they're
precise
not necessarily.
numbers that, yeah.
There's a difference between being precise and correct.
Yes, exactly. There's precision and there's validity, right? Something
Right.
like that.
Chuck,
Um,
are you confident that the Shillhammer Road is both the single family residence and the ADU?
Yes, I spoke
That
with.
both of those are new? Because
I
I
had a lovely meeting today with Chris Flynn
awesome.
that went on
Oh,
for like
great.
2 hours, and we mentioned and we he mentioned that um what I yeah.
yeah.
Technically, then
And I've
that's two
also I
dwelling
also looked
units.
I also looked at it on Google Earth, and it's two buildings. I
I
know.
I understand it's two buildings. I just wondered if the certificate of occupancy for the single family dwelling was also this year. It's two dwellings.
Yeah,
And so I'm just wondering if they were both built, if they both came online this year, or if one or the other came online this year.
yeah, I can check.
Okay.
So then the big question is, what do we do with this? Again, I mean, ideally, what makes sense for sure is to put it on the website, right? On the Affordable Housing Committee's part of the town website.
My
Um, and then
well,
where else do we want to put it? If you
well,
would agree with that.
I think we should go to the planning commission and hand it out and say, here's where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And go to the select board and hand it out and say, here's where we are,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, I'm going to quote from it, but I mean, that would be my own stuff, but, just let them know, where we are. The, on on the 10 acre, the forest, that is one where we had a clear view on what the prices were last year. There was some holes, and we didn't nail down every one last year. But we did nail down the 10-acre ones, and they were the same, 1.2 million. So it's two.
So Chuck Forest, the 10 acre is also the RAR, right?
Yeah. So each of these groups is, so the first group is the first group is the 1 acre, then the next group is the 3 acre, and then the group after that is the 10 acre.
Right.
The
Any
other
other ideas of what we do with this?
the other question I have too is that we have this data for the last 2 years as well.
There's some holes in the one from last year. You and I didn't nail it down the same way. There was some, um,
Holes that we can fill in.
that's true. Holes we could, right, fill in the same way. Uh, yeah, if you want.
I mean, I would be interested in all the numbers. I just don't want to delay anything, with the perfect being the enemy of the good.
That
Um,
that could be what goes in the report, the more detailed
okay.
report. But
The
I do,
more, yeah.
to me, there's value in saying the year ended, here's what happened. And, we're all going to analyze it. You can, everybody can kind of look at it and, um, and I think, this is the time to make the point that the housing resolution was signed in the middle of 2023. We're halfway through the 5-year housing resolution.
So I think, Frederica, your question about where else are we putting this is a good one. I think that we need to have I think it makes sense for there to be a post on behalf of or from the Affordable Housing Committee that says just that 2025, we're now into 2026. In 2025, these are the number of houses that came online. This is where they were from, da, da, da. And with all due respect, I think that should come from someone other than Chuck, who's been pretty vocal personally. It's just to keep it different and distinct, and should be something that we all feel comfortable with the delivery of.
So you mean Front Porch Forum? That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. I would totally be. I'm in the Jericho Front Porch Forum. I guess we wouldn't start spreading it to other towns necessarily. I'd be happy to put it out there. I have a really low profile because I don't look at it all that frequently.
So someone would write a note and then it'll be a link to this on our website.
That's a good idea. That's a great way to do it. A note that kind of mentions the highlights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't need the wastewater permit. People don't know what a PUD is. We could take that out.
Well, I think that's interesting. Some people might know what a PUD is, although they're all kind of PUDs. So
I think leaving
agree that
PUD in there in the water is important because it tells people
Yeah.
what kind of development was put into it. It wasn't just a house standing out in the field. It was part of many houses. And the fact that it's got a well or public system talks about where we have water system in town, and you can easily map it out.
Yeah.
Same thing with wastewater. Those are all septics, I believe, unless they're common
Well,
permits.
that's why
In which case, it's a group piece.
That's why I pulled the data down. I haven't followed up to see which one of those are single family permits and which one of those are shared systems.
Yeah.
And so that I think would be a valuable column, but the wastewater permit column itself, not valuable.
But if they have the same number, wouldn't you think that they're the same system?
Mm-hmm.
I would think so, yes. But for single family dwellings that are part of PUDs where only one of the dwellings is there, it's ambiguous whether that system is just for that home or whether that system is shared amongst homes that are currently being built or have already been built.
Yeah, you
And
look at Hendy Lane is a shared septic system, and the wastewater permit is the same for all 4. Shore Road,
Same thing, same permit.
except
But
that
what she's saying is if you look at Black
except
Walnut Lane, then you don't know.
Shore Road has individual septic systems. So maybe they were all built with the same, the developer maybe had one permit for all of them.
Oh, yeah, of course that's possible too, right?
Yeah.
So
we
Chuck,
don't
are you
know
saying
what
that the
this
Shore
says.
Road that each of the 2 houses on Shore Road has its own leach field,
Yes.
and yet they have the same wastewater permit?
Yeah, so it could be that the builder built one. I mean, unless they change it. When I looked at separately, I looked at the DRB, the PUD, whatever, looked at the drawings, and each house had its own septic. And on Hendy Lane, there was just one septic, which incidentally was only 5,000 square feet, 1/8 of an acre for 9 houses. But I think that the wastewater permit is that's invaluable to us, and others, and we should retain that and kind of, but for civilians, I think it just clouds and I think for what is available to the public, I think I would take off, uh, well, the building zoning permit, the parcel number. I would leave the water as Eric
Yeah, I
said.
wasn't under the impression that this spreadsheet was going to be the thing that was going to be public. Um,
I do think the level of detail that it provides, apart from the columns that Chuck just mentioned, is more instructive than just saying the average home price, though. I
Yeah.
think it really drives it home to see
I
this.
agree. I agree. I do think it's worth doing what we're doing, which is going through each column and thinking intentionally about the value of keeping it.
Yeah, so we
you
could
do
keep
do
the,
keep in mind that this is a meeting in the public, and this should be part of our public meeting records. It's for anybody who really wanted to look for it.
right.
Well, could you go back up to the top and I'll just suggest, and I suggest we take out the building zoning permit number.
Okay.
I
That's
suggest
fine.
we take out the parcel number.
Mm-hmm.
I suggest we spell out the zone and the acreage requirement that we take out the wastewater. Like it's
I'm
somewhere, I
okay
think,
with all of those.
like for a civilian should be able to look at that and say, oh, this is 1 acre zoning, 3 acre zoning, quarter acre zoning, 0, 1 acre zoning, 2, 3 acre zoning, 8, or whatever it is, and 10 acre zoning, 4,
Mm-hmm.
and spell out what an ADU is.
Who's going to be doing this?
I can do it.
Great.
Oh, I'm on call, so I just got a phone call, so I'm gonna have to
Sounds good.
step aside for a sec here. Sorry.
Okay.
Hello?
So who's going to post it? So I'll make those changes and send it to somebody. Who should I send it to?
Yeah, I guess make those changes. I don't know that, I think we're all in agreement on the changes. What's down at what is the text at the bottom? Oh, it's her.
Those are the notes that are now going to go up next to each house.
It's Frederica. Was there a summary? I can't remember. Was there like a summary statement thing? Oh, thanks, Frederica.
Average cost of houses.
The average cost of new houses isn't quite. Oh, and the forestry rural ag. Though, and both of the all of the houses in forestry and rural ag are ones that were sold, not just with permit data.
Can you put it back up again?
To find it, I don't know where my version is. Let me see.
No, Forest and Ag had one we have no data on, and one they bought a lot for 390,000, and then a zoning permit for $1 million house.
I just feel funny averaging across different across sales prices and estimated costs. Uh, I think I've got it. I can put it back up. Mm. So this, and it's 2024. Yeah, what is this line, I guess?
Which one?
Average cost of new houses in forestry, rural ag, 2024 to
So
2025
right.
was
So you're right. That's not clear.
1.2.
What I did was I took the one from 2020, all of the 10-acre houses did have costs in the 2024 report. So I took just those houses and averaged them with the 2025 houses. So I thought,
Mm,
and came up with, and basically I was trying to make the point that this was not a 1 year blip. Like this is,
I see.
but you're right, it's not clear.
Yeah, and so maybe, I mean, maybe that belongs in a report of some kind, and not just on this kind of data tally sheet. Um,
Okay.
but otherwise, I think that all makes sense. So yeah, sorry, Chuck. So to answer your question, if you want to make the changes, I don't know that anyone needs to see them. Does Eric or Stacy, do you feel like you need to see the changes before they go on the website?
No, I don't need to.
No. Okay. Um, then I would say you could email them to Sabina and maybe CC me just in case Sabina has any questions. Um, I'm not sure about the format. Uh, I don't know if there's an Excel. We might need to kind of turn this into a PDF or something to be able to post on the website. I'm not sure if we can post Excel.
That's easy.
Um, yeah, so maybe make your changes, pull it into a PDF, email it to Sabina and CC me to post it to the website. And then I know she stepped away, but it sounded like Frederica would craft a post that'll direct people um, to our website if they want to see the data. Anything else on that topic or that agenda item? Hearing no.
No.
Um, just to circle back, were you able to connect with Lisa at all over the last month, Chuck?
I don't have her contacts. I gave her mine and I didn't hear from her.
Okay. Um, the next item on the agenda was to discuss plan and timeline for the housing report. Um, this was something, Chuck, I think that you wanted to, you volunteered to help kind of think about reformatting and thinking about the plan and the messaging of the housing report, especially now that we have a couple of years, we can actually say some things about any progress or lack of progress the town has made since making the resolution.
I'm,
Um,
my anxiety has been relieved after we post this. I mean, my agita was about getting something out quick.
okay,
And so I'm happy to work on the report. I don't want to get into a wordsmithing thing. I feel like, and I'm happy to contribute to it and to offer suggestions, but I don't have a strong need to get in the,
okay.
that has been addressed. What I really wanted has been done.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, then I'm not sure that we need to dig deep on this item now, then, um, unless anyone else feels differently.
Nope.
Okay. Cool. Let's keep rolling then. All right. So 6, consider a formal recommendation to be made to the Planning Commission to remove maximum front setback requirements in village centers. All right, Chuck, this is you again.
Yeah, I mean, you all know that this just really just burns me. And I live right next to the road, and there hasn't been a house built in Jericho Center in 50 years anywhere near the setbacks that the Planning Commission has, or that the Select Board has approved. When I look at, and we often look at towns like Richmond and Bristol and Waterbury, and each of those towns has areas where they require people to build next to the road. In Richmond, it's from just above the traffic light down to uh, the pizza place, 850 feet. On Waterbury, it's 1,500 feet between the intersection of Route 2 and Route 100 and Stowe Street. And there are new buildings right next to the road. They look kind of goofy, but that's where it is. In Bristol, it's in a very tight area in the commercial, also in the commercial district. I don't have the square footage. In Jericho, it's pushing 12,000 feet. And one of the issues is that these other towns have very small village center districts. We have large village center districts. So you're requiring people to live next to Route 15 for, you know, maybe half of Route 15's distance, and through Jericho Center. And this is where the town wants low middle income people to housing to be built. And any house that is 30 feet from Route 15 is going to be worth less than a house that's 100 feet from Route 15. I promise you. Uh, a couple times I've talked to realtors about my house, they say, well, the problem is it's really close to the road. And it's right. I can't sleep on the side of my house near the road. And I raised all the kids' bedrooms are next to the road. They grew up listening to it, and they can hear it. I can't sleep on that side of the house. I have never sat on my porch and had a conversation except really late at night. You cannot do it during the day because of the street noise. There is serious issues right now having to do with the bigger pollution contribution from traffic right now is from particles from tires. It's not from emissions, and it's a serious problem. People who live next to the road are inhaling these, and I think the issues are certainly much greater on interstate highways and all that, but I believe that is also, a consideration. So to force the people that are low and middle income to live next to the road is really kind of a justice issue. And we should be hoping for people, young people are starting out, people of lower middle income. We should be wanting them to be building equity, and I simply don't see. We've had the Planning Commission has had many hearings on all this. Select Board's had hearings. There's been all this stuff on speed. Like why we're not connecting the issues that people have with speed to this issue just, belies, I have never heard anybody in almost 40 years say, gosh, I wish I lived closer to the road. Um, and I think it's a class issue. I think that, we have people that are just simply being dismissed. Now, in the agricultural zone and the forest zone, the same argument could be made that that agriculture land and forest land would be better conserved if the houses were 25 feet from the road or 30 feet from the road. But that will never happen because that's where money and power is. And it's simply cruel and unfair. So if we want to have, and, in the zoning, we have this drawing, you've all seen it, of this idyllic village center of people with baby carriages and kind of umbrellas and stopping and talking and sort of all this stuff. Well, Jericho has not committed to creating that on 12,000 feet of roadway. You know, uh, there aren't even speed limit signs in the other places where people are forced to live next to the road because it's really clear, like how you're kind of in a village center. So now there are places where you're gonna force people to live next to the road where there aren't even sidewalks yet, let alone on their side of the street. It's just cruel and unfair, and just I object. Um, And, there's lots of really prescriptive things in the last thing that was passed by the select board, some of which just drives me absolutely bananas. But this is the one that I think is, and, you know, would the people on Nashville Road or Skunk Hollow or any place in town accept being forced to live that close to the road? I really don't think so. I think people should come sit on my porch someday around 5 o'clock and try to have a conversation. You can't. And
Where are the bits where there aren't sidewalks? I'm just trying to
kind
picture.
of the kind of from like Matt's wash and wax from there towards the elementary school. There's a gap.
Wash and wax. Oh, the couple of blocks that they're trying to connect.
No, this is
Um,
like by Silly Hill Road, where Silly Hill Road ends on Route 15.
there's a sidewalk on the run side of the street, like where
And then
the
it,
garden
and then
center
it
is,
and then it ends. It doesn't extend all the way to the end of the village district.
to the end of the village center district.
Right. But the core issue is that if you look at the zoning map for Essex town, there's like 20 different zones. There's much more granularity to it. You know,
Sure.
we have much less granularity. So we have, the whole ag
I
thing.
think
Kind of, what I think about that. But we and it's the lack of granularity and the lack of commitment from the town. The town is not committed to speed control to the degree that it there's a promise made in the zoning basically that says we're going to create this and you're going to love it. And I don't think the town is committed to that. I think the only place that has the potential to fit the look of that drawing, there's only two places. One is Park Street, and the other one I think is sort of around the Joe's area where the town, I think, really has to make that kind of commitment just as a matter as a matter of safety. Jericho Center, we've been, uh, you know, unless they can slow people down to, 20 or 25 miles an hour, that the whole idea is a joke. We've got, the trucks coming out of the range. I mean, 5 o'clock on Sunday morning and 6 or 7 o'clock on Friday evening. They're coming
so.
down Lever.
Is this a Jericho Center? Is this a Jericho Center issue that's kind of wrapped up in the speed control and the speed calming?
Well,
I'm genuinely most of the houses are less than 30 feet, have a less than 30-foot setback. That setback starts at the property line. It doesn't include sidewalk. It doesn't include road. Um, it's consistent with what we already have, and with the exception of that small area that you just mentioned, there are sidewalks. I walk those sidewalks on Route 15, and ride the bikes with my kids and walk the dog all the time. I don't have problem carrying on a conversation while we're walking. I'm not, you know, it doesn't. I talk to Peter Booth in his driveway all the time. I don't. Of all the things, I agree. I don't like the mandating. I don't like how overly prescriptive things are. I don't like telling people what they can and can't do with their property. But of all the things um, to raise a stink about, this one right now doesn't seem emergent. If anything, from a housing perspective, from a compact housing perspective, you want houses to be built uh, closer so that there's room if you want to put an ADU in the back, or if you want to put another building in the back, you're setting up your property usage so that you can do that.
You can build the house and
I don't see this.
you
I
can put
just
the AD,
this
you can do it in reverse if you want. You can put your house where you want it and put the ADU later. But
Sure. I just it doesn't it all of the I don't know. All of the existing housing that we have, the biggest place where this I can see having a big impact is in Riverside, where we already have sidewalks on both sides of the street. There are plans to have narrow roads, and the lot sizes are going to be relatively small and compact. I just don't see this as being the place where we want to burn political capital. But that's me.
you know, if we weren't if we weren't so clear that we don't want low and middle income people to live in other places, basically you're not giving people a choice. Okay, you're saying you're going to have to. This is where you're going to have to live because we're not going to let you live in all these other places. And the houses that you're talking about that are already there were built before the road was paved. They don't have the National Guard going up and down their road. It's it's I mean, have you ever had anybody at any hearing say, I wish I lived closer to the road? It's like we're saying, no, you should live better the road because it's better for you. Uh, None of the houses have been built in Jericho Center. Have I been anywhere near, uh,
Well, I guess that's kind of where I'm getting to. Is this about Jericho Center?
in
Um,
Jericho Center is where the town has failed, is where there's been the most commotion about speed. And if Jericho can't manage the speed in Jericho Center, it is not going to create the environment that it used to sell what we're talking about. I mean, take that picture out of the zoning and say, never mind. We want you to live next to a highway. We want you to live right next to a state highway that was paved after all these other houses were put up. And I understand you'd rather live next far from the road, but you'll be better off next to the road. And for the rest, those of us who drive through town centers, we kind of like them to line up next to the road because it just sort of that's how we kind of like it. And that's that's the word from Jericho Center or from a village center. It's basically we very few people live in village centers, so there isn't much representation. And no, nobody on the planning commission likes village centers enough to live in one, they're being extremely
as if we all had our pick of any house when we came to Jericho.
Well,
I mean, I go ahead.
is
but
there some connection to just access to infrastructure, and that's why there's this?
there is no infrastructure.
Well, we're talking about like future building. I know that yes, there's no infrastructure, but is that
You run a
like what
water
is the
line.
rationale for this setback requirement? Do we know?
The two things are people don't want to walk on the sidewalks if the house they are more comfortable walking on the sidewalks if the houses are next to the road, and we like having them lined up the same as they were before. Those are the two rationales that I hear the most. And both Eric and SJ have brought up the idea of sort of lot layout, which, you could build the house in the back and ADU in the front, or the house in the front and ADU in the back. What's the difference?
Hi,
Um,
I'm back. I was thinking about this issue before we started this call because I was thinking what we were going to do with it. And my main question to myself that I think I answered for myself was, what does this have to do with the Affordable Housing Committee? And the only way I can really, why would the Affordable Housing Committee go to the Planning Commission or to the Select Board and say, hey, this setback thing is an aesthetic requirement that is kind of, telling people what to do and shouldn't tell people what to do in this way. What does that have to do with affordable housing? And the only way that I could link it to affordable housing was to say it's discriminatory because the requirement only exists in regions where they want to prioritize affordable housing. So that's the only link I could come up with. Am I missing something?
yeah, justice, just little thing.
Hmm?
Yes, you're right. It's about justice.
So the reason I came up with, you mean, is the one that you would
Yeah,
put forward, that
yeah.
it's discriminatory, it tells
Oh,
people what to
and
do.
and it's going to decrease the amount of housing that is built because it's less attractive. I mean, we, you know,
All right, so the other reason would be that it's a disincentive for builders to actually build,
I think so. Yeah,
which would then reduce housing.
yeah. I mean, I think the demand for a house 30 feet, with a tiny front yard, uh, right up against Route 15 I mean, the lumber costs the same, the foundation is the same, the impact fees are the same, everything's the same. What's worth more, a house 30 feet from the road or 100 feet from the road, or 120 feet from the road? A house 100 feet from the road is worth more. Ask any realtor. And so the house is less likely to get built. The person who owns it is going to be less likely to develop equity. Um, and kids are at risk. We raised three kids right next to the road here. It was terrifying.
So that's not an affordable housing argument, although I understand the argument. So there's
Same.
two ways we can go about it, which is like, well, this is a thing that individually we agree with you and we would support, or some of us would support, bringing this to the select board. And then the other way to go forward is if we agree as a committee that this has to do with housing, and specifically with affordable housing. And then we would have to formulate how and then bring it to the select board. So how do people feel about that? Is this something for us to bring to the select board, provided we agree? Or is this something that would be kind of up to individuals to bring to the select board?
I want to make a slightly different perspective on that. I agree with Chuck that a house 5 feet, 10 feet away from the road is not a desirable location for anybody. Now, let's put that into practical terms about where is construction going to happen in Jericho. Along Route 15, it's already built out. It's going to happen in back lots. Along in Brown's Trace, along in Jericho Center, it's all built out. No one's going to be building a new house 20 feet from the road. All of this is intended to go for a side street that's off of a main street. So if you're going to build something like another Griswold or another Starbird, there, why not allow 10 feet? It's now a residential neighborhood. And that's what is being addressed with this note. It's not saying you can put a house 10 feet from Route 15. No one's going to do that. No one's going to go and tear up all the existing houses on Route 15 between Silly Hill and Packard Road, all those wonderful ranch houses, and put something 15 feet from the road. It's just not going to happen. They won't sell. But If they can have a driveway that goes behind there and you're 15 feet from that next new road that comes in, a neighborhood road, I don't see a problem with that. I think you're right, Chuck. For the volume of the road on Brown's Trace and 15, 20 feet is not nearly enough. But if you're on a side road, I don't see a problem.
I don't either. I'm talking about
And
Route
that's where
15.
most of this district is. No one's building on Route 15.
You know, uh, except that the town expects to be getting a lot of infill along Route 15, has changed the frontage requirements so that more houses could be built on Route 15. And if you feel like this doesn't matter because it's not going to happen, then there's no problem to get there's no problem getting rid of it. There is some, there is some land along Brown's Trace. I mean, I keep on bringing up Brown's Trace because that's what I know better. But the objective, in theory, there's going to be infill along Route 15. I mean, that's the theory. That's that's the justification for limiting access to the majority of town for low and middle income people because you have this other place over here and we're going to have lots of infill. Well, why not make the potential infill as 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 attractive to people as possible?
I'm not disagreeing with you on that, Chuck. I'm just saying that those houses will not front on Route 15. There aren't enough curb cuts on there to do it.
No, I
You
talked
know the
today.
town.
I talked today with Chris Flynn, the owners
Zoning
of
administrator.
the uh,
Yeah.
the owners of Woodland Road along Route 15 are thinking about sectioning off the lot in front and creating a building lot on Route 15. The whole theory on this is that there's going to be infill along Route 15. Yes, I know a lot of it may not be right next to the road, but why require for the why I want to encourage housing along Route 15, and this does not encourage it. We've had one, two, three, four, I don't know, 5 or 6 houses built in Jericho Center in the last whatever 10 years. None of them have come anywhere near to meeting this requirement, where people have the option to build. I don't know if they would have been built if you'd forced them to build it right next to the road.
Well, a related question is, could they have built next to the road in the first place? I suspect
Sure,
the answer is no.
they could have. I mean, physically,
Physically,
yes,
was there space?
yes. Look, where Cleary lives.
Not offhand, no.
He's the guy that has the big love signs.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the next house down on the left-hand side. That's a new house. The Myers, the Myers,
yeah.
they're new. The duplex is new. Um, the teachers, people built a house just 2 doors down from me. That's new. The Shermers, Emily Shermer and her husband Jason just built a house next to the Shermers. There's then the next house down that's sort of the across from the old brick house. That's a new house right there. Hugh Griffith's house is new. Um, when I say new, 10, 15 years. None of
And
them.
are they actually 15 feet from the road?
No, they're like 150 feet from the road.
Yeah,
They built where they wanted
because
to. They built where they wanted to build it. Under these
mhm.
regulations, they would have been forced to build 30 feet from the property line. And I don't know if they would have gotten built or not. I know be worth less. And the half dozen houses have been built in the last 10 years in Jericho Center. All of them have road frontage. You have to have road frontage. It's a
Yeah.
requirement. They have the road frontage and they chose not to build right next to the road. And if they
It's
get
hard
excited,
to
and if they want to build an ADU, they can build an ADU in their front yard as opposed to building the house next to the road and the ADU in the back of that, and in the back. but you will not find people who say they wish they lived closer to the road.
I mean, that's a silly. It's just,
Why is that silly? You're saying you'd be happier living closer to the road.
that's
Okay.
not that's why it's silly, because that's not what I'm saying. No one is saying I'd be happier closer to the road or is asking to be closer to the road, and there's not a limit there. Just for the accuracy of the minutes, the maximum is 30 feet on Vermont Route 15 and Browns Trace, not 15. Um, Again, I keep coming back to this sounds like a specific Jericho Center issue. I, I don't,
Well, but
and it's
it
difficult to
applies to Route
know.
15.
Hmm?
It applies to Route 15.
It
You,
does apply to Route 15, and again, in Route 15, you've got sidewalks. You're talking about the neighborhoods that Eric brought up. I again of all the things for housing, having a maximum front setback, not something that maybe I would put in place, but if it's going to be in place, it should be in a village center, and it will encourage more housing, denser housing.
so
It
let's
will,
look at the report. Let's look
rather
at,
than having these long, big, deep lots where you've got, one house set way far back, and all of this dead land. It will encourage denser housing. Do I like it? No. Like I'm not a big fan of it. Do I think that it's the worst thing that we should be spending our time on? That we're going to get the biggest bang for our buck in terms of housing, by going after maximum front setbacks? No, I don't think that this is
well
where we
then,
should
all
be
right, well then,
spending our energy.
all right. So I'll just, so
I'm
fine. That's fine.
speaking
And
as one person, Chuck. I'm not speaking.
we'll look at the report next year and see how many houses are built right next to Route 15. And I'll bet it's zero.
It might be. There might be no houses built on Route 15 until Riverside gets built out. Who knows? But I'm speaking as myself, not as the committee.
Mhm.
Everybody
Well,
else can have their own
can
say.
can I just maybe redirect the committee? Because like Chuck, I do have my own little pet peeves. And one of mine is that we have tremendous amounts of road frontage all through the town that is designated for low density residential. I think of Skunk Hollow. I think of Plains Road. I think of um, Barber Farm, not, I mean Lee River Road, and just on and on and on and on. All of those are, as Chuck, as you pointed out in the Planning Commission last week, zoned agricultural. And there's no agricultural really work in there. I think if we are going to continue to push for more housing in smaller lot sizes for more people that's more affordable, one of the most important things we could do is push the Planning Commission to say this stuff that's zoned as agricultural, and Chuck, you went and presented in front of the Planning Commission last week, it's not going to be agricultural anymore. So let's stop calling it that. Let's rezone that and try to get more housing into these areas where it's not super expensive to put housing in. That's going to give us a bang for the buck.
Yeah,
Yes, we want Riverside to come forward, but that's telling everybody you got to live in a small town, in a development. For people who want to live on a nice larger lot or a smaller lot, but in a nice environment, we don't allow them here. You can't do that in most parts of Jericho.
I think what I'd, let's transition away from the front. And if we're talking, and I'm happy to take that on. I don't sense much temperament on the committee for that. We
Well,
have,
let me
we have,
just let me just interject though that there's no reason what the reason that this emergency meeting happened in addition to the to getting the numbers out as soon as possible on our previous item was because there was a sense of urgency around this and trying to get this particular request about the front setback into and in front of the select board and the planning commission now while they're doing this enabling housing um, thing of amendments. That's I don't think that it rises to that level of urgency. That's not to say that it can't go into whatever our next round of critique and recommendation for the planning commission and the select board is. I think there, I at least have definitely the appetite for continuing that conversation and perhaps making that recommendation. But I don't think that it rises to the urgency of stirring up something immediate, personally. If we want to talk about some of these other things, I think that that makes a lot of sense, and we do need to be coming up with a list of guidance and critique and recommendation for moving forward now that our list of 9 items is being addressed. Go ahead, Chuck.
I'm fine with that. Is the idea of being able to, the PUDs adding any number of houses, 1,200 or 1,300 square feet? Because I think that Eric's, personally, I think that reducing the acreage, although if momentum is building on that, that will be great. But as Frederica has expressed before, a 5-acre lot is going to produce another $850,000 or $900,000 home. I thought that but although I do support the idea of reducing the lot size, I think our recommendation on being able to add as many dwellings as you can that are under 1,200 square feet or 1,300 square feet to a PUD really answers, it preserves a 10-acre zoning, and it addresses so many things. It means that you can build a row of 8 townhouses. It means that you can build a cluster of condos like the ones at Starbird. It means you can have a small mobile home park. It just it allows so many things, and it's kind of on a contained basis, and it also breaks the paradigm that really the only role of a PUD is to create more permanent open space. And I think we have to speak to this idea of the myth of everywhere, which is that if we were to allow that, that does mean that every 10-acre lot is going to have a mobile home park or a cluster of condos. That will, and if there ends up being too many, then we change it.
So,
But I think
just to before we move on, I just wanted to wrap this agenda item up. So we're withdrawing the formal recommendation to be made to the Planning Commission. I think you're right. None of us have a super appetite to move forward with just going specifically after the setback at this point, urgently, without thinking about that some more and looking.
yeah,
I was just spending
I can do
time.
that on my own.
Yeah. So then the next thing that you were starting in on, and Eric, and then you, is kind of a bigger picture, list of things that we might want to tackle next. And I don't think we need to do that today. My question for that would be, what would we be basing it on? What would we be critiquing? Is there a plan right now? Would we be, I don't know enough. I don't think I'm familiar enough with the details of what the Planning Commission has done recently to kind of, base our next list of recommendations on, and also what the Planning Commission is planning on doing. Is that something that we should take up in our coming March meeting?
This is an existing recommendation that the Planning Commission is currently debating. And I believe Eric and SJ can talk about that. And I surely hope that the Affordable Housing Committee will oppose any package of zoning recommendations that doesn't include this one, because it really is, of the 9, it is really the guts of our recommendations. And so I think it's
So
in the hands of the Planning Commission right now.
Which one are
yeah,
we talking about right now?
so this is uh, allowing multiple units that are
Oh,
1,200
okay.
square feet or less. Is that right,
Mhm.
Chuck?
As many as you can without having to add more land
And
to a P,
so
to a PUD without having to add more land.
Mhm.
I don't know. That is still. I haven't seen any language on that one way or the other. I do wanna
Yeah.
just amend something that you said earlier though about, yes, if we decrease to 5 acres, you can still have a big house. But if we decrease to 5 acres and now fourplexes are allowed everywhere, you can have a fourplex on that 5 acres,
That's true.
which ain't nothing. And
That's
it's
right.
something that this committee has been fighting for and advocating for. So
That's a good point.
I don't know where we're going to land on that. It's not going to be as many as you can. Uh, I'm sure there will need to be some kind of cap on the number of, even if they are less than 1,200 square feet, particularly in the 10-acre zones. I'm
Why?
sure.
Why?
I mean, have you met the planning commission? I mean, I just think that that's.
Right, but that is our recommendation.
I
And
understand.
so you need to support it,
I
and
understand.
we need to oppose a package of zoning amendments that doesn't include it, because
That's.
this is the
I mean,
gut
I think
this is the
that's a
guts of,
conversation for the committee to have.
yes, well, this is the guts of what we recommended. So we can sure as heck say
So I
that
don't
the planning
remember, I don't remember the specific recommendation to have unlimited 1,200
It's
foot.
not unlimited. Let me pull it up.
yeah, you could add units below
That
it
there
if
would be some mechanism to add units that are smaller and thereby increase the number of total units in the PUD. But it
but
wasn't,
without
that's
having,
kind of how I remember it. And it left open how to do that, right? I mean, it left open how many and where and
Yes,
what.
it's yes. Your recollection is correct. Let me pull it up.
it says permit and incentivize clusters of small dwellings in PUDs. For example, by requiring no additional land for additional dwellings deeded to be less than 1,200 square feet.
Yeah, that's the language. It's vague.
Okay.
Well, not if you take it literally.
Yeah, I
Require
guess
no,
if you take, you could argue that if you take it literally, then you have unlimited numbers of 1,200 square feet
right.
dwellings.
And what is the problem with that? Because
Um,
we want dense housing
right.
and we want clustered housing. Every additional dwelling on this lot is one that's not built, in theory, someplace else. What, I mean, the idea is to lower the cost of land for a dwelling. And this is a PUD, so it would be compact. The PUD still, the DRB still kind of controls the layout and I don't know, the roof line and the gutters and the color of the house and whatever they want to fool with. Um, I mean, this is what we came up with to address, Frederica, your concern that smaller lots were just going to have uh,
McMansions.
more
Yeah, I
man.
didn't want McMansions.
Right. So on this, we're talking, and we have been talking about this, clusters of smaller dwellings
Right.
in more places in town, and this gets us that.
So, I mean, the spirit of that, I agree. I don't think that we would ever have like a loophole of building basically that every 10-acre lot that comes on the market could be turned into a mobile home park with full of
But
unlimited numbers of 1,200 square foot
but
houses.
that's the myth of everywhere. You're saying, oh, we're going to have mobile home parks everywhere. We're not.
That's the myth
I
of
mean,
everywhere.
that's
Correct.
the myth of everywhere. We used to say you can walk into town hall and get a permit to build a 60,000 square foot house. Well, it didn't happen everywhere. And, uh, if it ends up happening everywhere, then people can, change the zoning. Um, this might happen a few places in town,
So that's an interesting conversation.
which we've already had, and we've already submitted this, and we've already gotten the select board support before it went to the planning commission. And let's not wimp out now.
All right.
I mean, right now we have 5 developments of luxury homes under construction. We have one just now being finished with an average price over $1 million in a place where multifamily housing is not allowed. I mean,
Oh,
whenever we're talking about housing for low and middle income people, all of a sudden we're worried about extremes. When right now we have allowed the extremes, I mean, of luxury. We have catered to luxury housing. There's still land left in town. And we have catered to one extreme. And what we're saying now is we're gonna make something else available. And it's not gonna happen everywhere. And if we get a cluster of 20 townhouses somewhere, that would be a great thing.
so
Or
so where are we here? Where are we in the, I fundamentally agree with you. Are we discussing that we're going to bring this to the select board now, or is this something that we're planning on discussing further at the next meeting? Because this wasn't something that we were going to discuss at this meeting. I'm just trying to see where we are in the big scheme of things, and in our agenda.
well, I hope we can hold the planning commission to feet to the fire in getting this.
Again, I have a hard time understanding you. Is everybody's audio as crackly as mine, or is it just me? Is
I think
anybody
it's
else
just
having audio?
you.
Oh gosh, no. All right.
Well, this is a recommendation we made to the select board, and the select board then asked the planning commission to do it or look at it. And
I agree. I think to Frederica's point though, like is there an action item here? What are we? Yes, the recommendation has been made. The planning commission is working on it. Um, what are we doing here? And
I'm making trouble.
So what else is new, Chuck?
Eric started it.
it's Eric's fault.
Yeah, and I missed everything that Eric
Yeah.
said because I was looking through the entire zoning regulations for setbacks, just to see what they say. So I missed that piece. But yeah, I mean, if we have remaining recommendations that haven't been acted on, that's certainly something to bring to the planning commission. Do we want to, so we have ways of doing that, right? We can do it like one of us, if we agree that the I don't know. So SJ, where are you at the planning commission with considering these agenda items the items that we brought? I thought they had all been considered and they had all been adopted by the select board. And I guess what Chuck is saying is that then the Planning Commission hasn't really acted on
No,
this one.
the planning commission is actively working on them. And so the recommendations that were within village centers have been enacted. And then recommendations outside of village centers are part of the package that the Planning Commission is currently working on now. And so none of these things have been adopted yet. The Planning Commission has made decisions on many of them, for example, fourplexes everywhere. And by that, I just mean that the Planning Commission has come to a consensus that that is one of the amendments that we want to include in this package that will then have to go for public hearing. And then, assuming we make it through public hearing, we will then recommend to the select board, which will then go through public hearing, which will then either get adopted or get kicked back to the Planning Commission to revamp. So these are all things that are currently in process. And some of the items of those 9 recommendations or 8 recommendations, some of them are further along than others.
And I remember there was
Mhm.
the last time I tuned in to the Planning Commission, there was a discussion about how to divvy up lots in novel ways, which would be applicable to this particular item. So maybe if that discussion kind of comes up, if that's on the agenda of the Planning Commission, we could, one of us could remind them of the item that we have in our lists that encourages clustered development and bring it up as we wrote it then. So I think that would certainly be something that we could do if you as the liaison let us know when they're discussing something that would be relevant to this item on our list.
And this list was done before the most recent zoning revisions. And there was some pretty dumb stuff in that. I mean, the the last revisions banned room rentals in the 10-acre zone. So if you have a house in the 10-acre zone, you can't rent out a room. Which is
All right, that's very upsetting, but that's gonna
that's a housing
It's
issue.
already been done.
yeah,
That,
that's in the September 25 zoning regulations.
yes.
Okay.
You're going to
What does
change
that
that in
have to
the
do
next
with
one?
village centers?
What?
I'm not familiar with that. I thought that those
The table of
zoning
uses
regs
was
were
changed, getting rid of rooming
just
house.
village centers.
No, there was all kinds of stuff that from the rest of the you reduced the maximum house size. There was all kinds of townwide stuff. But one
Mhm.
thing that happened was the elimination. So Eric, that is in the new package to allow people to rent out rooms
I think it is.
because
Um,
this was something that I've raised, I pushed in 2022 and the town changed it. And then the most recent Susan put it in and changed it back. Uh, she really doesn't want
no,
room rentals.
I'll have to look at it further, but I was under
Look
the
at the table of
impression
uses.
that,
Look at the table of uses.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know what you're talking about. Frederica, just FYI, it's the setbacks are on page 50 in the new regs, just for
There
your
are a lot of
future.
there are a lot of mentions of setbacks, and I keep finding 20 feet and except Route 15, 30 feet
Correct.
all over that document. 20 feet except Route 15, 30 feet.
Route 15, let's see, Route 15, Lee River Road, Plains Road, River Road, and Browns Trace. May be increased to 30 feet.
So, but not to revisit that. That's what I was doing earlier. All right. So where are we with this? Do we want to get an update on where the planning commission is at when it comes to recommendations that are relevant to cluster development? And then if they're discussing that, we could one of us could present at the planning commission meeting or go to the public hearing part of the planning commission meeting to emphasize our item 9 or whatever that item was as written, to remind the planning commission that that's something we wanted to do. Does that
I
sound
just,
reasonable?
yeah, and I will not, there's no way that I will remember to um, alert you all to what is being discussed at each planning commission meeting ahead of time. I
Yeah, the
usually do my
agendas.
planning commission work like 3 hours before the meeting.
Yeah.
So the agendas are always posted on Front Porch Forum, and they
Yeah.
are posted in print and on the website. So you are welcome to. But this is, I mean, this is the active work that we've been doing for the last few months. So every meeting has something that's of interest to this group that's relevant to those recommendations.
Yeah. So Eric, do you think there is an appetite for changing the lot sizes and or for, I mean, Skunk Hollow receiving the same treatment as Brown's Trace?
Unfortunately, I'm not sure there is. I think there are a lot of vested interests in preserving the larger lot sizes that have a lot of influence on the planning commission.
Yeah.
And there's not enough push from the rest of the town to say, actually, we really do want this. I wish it was differently.
Yeah. I mean, the zoning map is a power map of the last 50 years of Jericho in terms of who lived where when.
So, yeah, and it's also, I mean, in addition, I was just starting to read a little bit more about the Act 250 revisions that are being made on the state level, and and the maps that have been produced, and we know that from the regional commission, also preserve this kind of thinking, though. They kind of designate building areas that are not in what we have as a 10-acre zone. So there's power behind it that exceeds just the town
Yeah.
power, right? I mean, this is like a statewide thinking that
So
you can build in the compact villages, and that you're not going to want to build out in a 10-acre zone. So,
I
that's
went and testified at the hearing that they had on the maps. The regional planning commission was the only one who testified for all of Chittenden County. So I had the floor to myself, and I basically made the case that, that the town is interpreting smart growth in a way that reinforces exclusionary zoning. And I gave him a preview on some of the numbers that we've looked at today. Laura Kane was there, and she responded pretty favorably to, and called me after about, you know, and the vice chair asked to meet with me. So, um, and I'm going to give her the whole rap on how this smart growth is basically reserving most of Jericho for the wealthy. And um, and that the regional planning, I gave them the information on all the HOAs. They basically disregard the impact of the HOAs, which is just, to me, is just lazy.
So it's 8:38. I sound like SJ, but I am looking to kind of bring like structure to the remaining time that we have, and we don't have to go until 9, by the way. Um, so one of the things I want to say about this whole thing about, getting back to the planning commission is I personally would need to kind of sift through what they've done so that I would be informed when I go there. And rather than just, showing up and saying, hey, remember what we said. And I'd want to know what they've done. And I'm not up to exactly everything that they've done or discussed. So I think that would take some work, like at least if I were the one to do that. And I don't know if you feel the same way, but I wouldn't just want to show up without knowing exactly where they stand. And we can discuss whether we want to get an overview. I mean, one idea I just had when I was thinking about it is to have another joint housing committee / planning commission meeting where we kind of tell them where we're at and they tell us where they're at. We had that, I think, a year ago. And I think it felt productive then. How do you guys feel about that idea?
I don't want to speak for SJ, but she and I will be at any planning commission meeting already, so it's kind of a easy thing for us to agree to, I think. For me to agree to anyway.
Yeah, I think that would be fine. That would be welcome.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking it doesn't fit with the current plan that the planning commission has for its meetings, right? So we wouldn't be able to just
I'm trying to. I'm
take one of their
thinking.
meetings.
Well, I'm thinking about the timing and when would be the most effective. Like I would like to do that, but I'm not the chair or Chris Shaheen. So in my mind, I'd love to do that just prior to, like, when they're starting to prepare materials for a public hearing, because at that point, some of the work has been done.
I like
But then
that.
again, maybe that's a little late because then the commission has come to decision on things, and so maybe it needs to be a little earlier while we can remind and perhaps influence the commission as they're making finalized decisions. And also it's a tight schedule, and we're already behind. But I think it's something to consider for um, to bring to
Mm.
Susan and Chris to consider.
Yeah,
I'm
The
happy to
interest
do
I,
that,
yeah, and the
but
interest I would have with that is, the thing they're discussing at present, the non-village center, part that they're talking about now, like how to reconstruct a PUD and how to divvy up land, and because that's, germane to what we were just talking about. So I think nowish, whenever they have, if they think they can accommodate a
the
joint meeting.
alternative could be having them again, since their meetings are full-ish. We could also have them come to one of our meetings. Um,
True.
the drawback to that, though, is that then we aren't in front of the full commission, um, and um, I
How
think
many
that
people are on there? I mean, we would have like half of the commission, I guess, already, right?
there's
Yeah,
7,
there's 7 people.
Almost half. So if we have you two, and then we
and
have,
Chris is important.
yeah, and then we have Chris, and then we have Susan.
I
Um,
think I
I
think
think
Wendy,
Wendy, I think Sabina, I think Heidi, Chris Brown. I
Hmm.
mean, the whole commission would be valuable contributors to the discussion, and I think would want to talk with us directly as well. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's a worthwhile idea.
I mean,
so our next meeting,
our
sorry.
first conclusion as a committee, or this current incarnation of the committee, was that infill is not going to do it, and it's not going to happen in the village centers, and or that's not going to that's not we need a lot more than that. And I think we need to make the point that there needs to be a major paradigm shift in terms of where housing goes if we're going to meet our objectives. And I'm not sure the Planning Commission has really accepted that conclusion.
Yeah, but it's a good, it's kind of a good time for a meeting with them because we have like the 2025 data. That's what we can show, and then maybe they can catch us up on where their thinking is on what to do outside of the villages and village centers, and then we can have a discussion about that. I mean, our next meeting is March 10th. Or would be, or could be March 10th. Is it March 10th? We were planning on having a meeting March 10th, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct.
So, if there's any chance that we could invite the Planning Commission for the March 10th meeting, that would also fix our number 7 on our agenda, which is plan for next meeting. Yay.
I think before we do anything committing on our side, perhaps SJ, you and I might have a conversation at the Planning Commission and see what dates work for them and then bring it back.
Sure.
Yeah, I think we can
I won't be
bring it
there.
up at the next meeting.
I won't be there in person.
Will you
On
be able to attend though?
yeah.
Okay. Well, and March, the typical, and doesn't have to be, I suppose. Typically, the March meeting is kind of a reset and an opportunity to talk about our work plan, our procedures. Chuck, I know you wanted to raise some concerns about planning commission members being both on the planning commission and on the housing committee, and so it's a time to talk about membership and how we want to run meetings, et cetera, in addition to planning our work plan. And so that actually having, I mean, again, Eric's point is a good one. Who knows what availability will be. But having the first half of the meeting be kind of a conversation with the Planning Commission may help guide at least thoughts about our work plan for the coming year. So that might work
For
out fine.
sure. Yeah. And I do think it's a little time sensitive, right? We can't just say, okay, we'll meet with them sometime later in the year.
Definitely. It's yeah. Now is the time. The time is now.
All right. So if you're willing to see if that could be possible. Anybody else have any other thoughts, or does that make sense to invite the Planning Commission to our March 10th meeting, or to half of our March 10th meeting?
I think it would be helpful to, even if it was just Chris at some point.
To catch us up,
Well, for us to,
for us to catch him up.
yeah, just to hear what's on his mind.
All right. Anything else to discuss about the next meeting?
If I could just say something I'm contemplating doing, which is offering, uh, uh, doing a post where I list the neighborhoods with HOAs that are constraining more affordable housing, and offer to meet with, by appointment, anybody from any of those neighborhoods to show them what I've found. And I'll put in there that, I'm a civilian, I'm not a lawyer. I might be wrong, but here's, if you live in one of these developments, I'd be happy to show you what I found. And then make appointments. Ideally, it would be during working hours so that we could use the town hall equipment, but I know, not everybody can do it. Not everybody can do it during the week. I did print out the HOAs for the three of you that have them to bring to the meeting with highlights on what I think you might want to consider amending.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, if you and it's all, they really are kind of in English. It's not that, I don't know. And SJ, all you need is a majority vote, and Eric and Stacy, you need a 3/4 vote. And there's other things you might want to take out, like no chickens. Um, one of the things that I found interesting, Eric, is that in yours, it requires people to use the community septic. And I presume that's so you have, full complement of dues paying people. But it it seems to me like it would prevent someone from adding a unit to their property and having an additional septic system for that property. Like like right now, one of the obstacles, even if you were to make this change, if someone wanted to add, you know, housing on their lot as infill, you'd have to get the community septic expanded. But if you were able to build your own leach field I mean, you have almost close to an acre lots. There's plenty of land there to add. I mean, there's plenty of land there for a septic system. Um, the question is, well, the house is in the middle of the lot. You sort of have to figure the whole thing out. But that extra clause in there that says you have to send all your sewage to the community um, septic system, if you were to adjust that and say that you have to send it from the original dwelling or something, but that an additional dwelling, you could build your own septic.
Yeah, in theory, that may not, well, that may be something you saw, but I know that there are 5 houses that are below the leach field that have their own septic system. There's one house at the end of the road that's not in our development that did have a leach system and it failed. Most of the other houses, including mine, uh, when they were built, the builder uh, decided he was going to strip all the topsoil off. So I don't think as a neighbor, as most of the neighbors that I have, I don't believe they would have much in the way of septic capacity right now, just because of that having happened. And I think, Stacy, where you are, the folks at the bottom of the hill in the big red house, without a permit, built 2 additional bedrooms in there and used up the full septic capacity that you're on too.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah, just what you wanted to hear. So there are, yes, there are these septic systems, but there are some real restrictions, human-made or people who violated the rules, however you want to say it, uh, that would make it very difficult to expand a lot of the systems right now.
Yeah. I mean, another thing I want to throw out is that you've seen Bob DeVos make this proposal for a loan fund, particularly for his
Mhm.
own, for his own water system. I think this is a really good idea and really important idea. And I think the town should have a loan fund for both water and wastewater because there's, in the Jericho village area, the septic systems are all like 30 years old. There's going to be HOAs where people have their individual septic systems who are now going to need to have a community septic system or something. And I feel like a loan fund could have as big an effect as the system in Riverside in terms of um, a potential infill. Plus, if you're making a loan to an HOA for septic, you can crack open the HOA when you do that, and make it a requirement to change the HOA to allow um, housing for low middle income people.
Well, Chuck, I understand wanting to crack open for low and middle income, and I'm all for it. I have little sympathy for DeVost and his group. I've been paying $500 a year for 32 years in the sinking fund. So when my septic goes, the entire community has been doing it. So we've had our sinking fund. We've acted responsibly. And I feel like the wolf in the brick house or the pig in the brick house saying, what the hell are you coming to my house for when you guys didn't bother to plan for it? Or the ant and the grasshopper. You didn't plan for it. You knew it was going to happen. Dude, you spent your money somewhere else. why should I be responsible for your responsibility? But we're going way off the topic of the Affordable Housing Committee and
Well, no, I think it is.
probably
I
should.
think it is relevant. I'm just throwing it out, and I do think it is relevant to the housing committee. And I accept your point about. I do think people dismiss him because of their case. The concept, I think, is a good one.
I would make
Channeling.
a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, channeling SJ. It's 8:55. I'm back to making cookies.
What kind of
I didn't
cookies
get
are they?
done. They're these sourdough discard chocolate chip cookies. So I have sourdough discard, but that's just an excuse to make really sumptuous chocolate chip cookies, it turns out.
Oh, that sounds good.
What kind of
I move to adjourn.
what kind of cookies does a cardiologist cook?
Second.
Hey,
Not for me. All right. Meeting is adjourned.
bye, everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
Have a good night.